Good evening and welcome to the Worldwide End Time Radio Podcast. I'm your host, Brian DeLore, and I thank you all for tuning into the program this evening. It's been a long time since I've done a live program, and it's kind of a little bit new to me. It's like I've forgotten things. Anyhow, good to be back with you live, and tonight I'm going to be doing a message on the book of Daniel, the 70th week of Daniel, and I'm going to explain that to you all tonight, and as best I can. There's a lot of material to cover, and I'm going to wrap this segment of the series up tonight, but starting tomorrow, I'm going to do a couple of more series on the book of Daniel regarding the challenges to the book of Daniel, because there is a lot of alleged historical inaccuracies that the liberal scholars use to try and undermine the authority of the book of Daniel, and I'm going to address all that later in the week. But tonight, I'm going to be discussing, again, the 70th week of Daniel. So we'll begin our study tonight in the book of Daniel, chapter 9, verse 1, and this is Daniel writing, and he says, "In the first year of Darius, the son of Ahasuerus, of the seed of the Medes, which was made king over the realm of the Chaldeans, in the first year of his reign, I, Daniel, understood by books the number of the years whereof the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah the prophet, that he would accomplish 70 years in the desolations of Jerusalem." Now, this is a known fact. If you go to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 25, verse 11, Jeremiah mentions this, that Judah, the house of Judah, would be captive to Babylon for 70 years. But if you come down here to the in chapter 9 of Daniel, verse 25, really start this again at verse 21. Daniel was seeking God about this very thing. And so he says he's reading these books by Jeremiah. He's seeking the face of God concerning this captivity. And in verse 21, it says, "Yea, while I was speaking in prayer, even the man Gabriel, the angel Gabriel, whom I had seen in the vision at the beginning, being caused to fly swiftly, touched me about the time of the evening oblation. And he informed me and talked with me and said, O Daniel, I am now come forth to give thee skill and understanding. At the beginning of thy supplications the commandment came forth, and I am come to show thee, for thou art greatly beloved. Therefore understand the matter and consider the vision. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people, and upon thy holy city, to finish the transgression, and to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up the vision and the prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks. And 62 weeks the street shall be built again in the wall, even in troublous times. And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end of the war desolations are determined. And we're going to stop right there. So we'll take this up here in verse 25, really 24, start at 24. The angel is saying, Gabriel's telling Daniel that 70 weeks are determined upon thy people. Now this is not 70 weeks, this is 70 weeks of years. So this is a time period or time frame of 490 years in which God has determined it shall take that long to to finish the transgression, to make an end of sins, to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. So this is a 490-year period, which begins at the time that the commandment comes forth to restore and to build Jerusalem. And so that is the starting point for this 490-year period, which took place during the reign of King Artaxerxes, and he is the one who issued the command to restore and to build Jerusalem. Now, there were several similar commands given, one by Cyrus, another one by Artaxerxes, which was delayed for some reason. Some of the people had come to Artaxerxes and told him, some of the Jews had come to Artaxerxes and told him that this is a bad city. And so Artaxerxes delayed for a period of time the rebuilding of Jerusalem. And I'm trying to get all this together here. I'm talking to you and operating my equipment at the same time. So, after Artaxerxes gave this command, the city of Jerusalem began to be rebuilt. And it mentions even the wall in troublous times, and that's speaking in the time of the Maccabean revolt, because a lot of people weren't too happy that this was going to happen. And so I'm going to read from you now from a website, which is the patmospapers.com, and this is speaking of this subject. And so we're at the point now where we are determining the date of the decree. And so I'm going to read for you from this website exactly what this author said. The dates for Artaxerxes' reign are well documented in the ancient sources. These sources include the Greek historians, Ptolemy's canon, the Babylonian business tablets, and the Elephantine papyri from Egypt. From these documents, we know that Xerxes was killed in late December of 465 BC, and the reign of Artaxerxes began at that time. The decree to restore and build Jerusalem was issued in the 7th year of Artaxerxes' reign. And this is mentioned in the book of Ezra, chapter 7, verses 7 and 8. And the book of Ezra was written in Jerusalem for the Jews. It would be natural that he would use the Jewish method of reckoning in the number of the years, whereas the Babylonians and the Persians began their years in the spring. The Jews counted their civil year as beginning in the fall. This means that Artaxerxes' accession year, according to the Jewish method of reckoning, extended until the fall of 464 BC, at which time his first year of reign began. His 7th year is thus determined as follows. And they give a chart here. I'm not going to bother to read that. But after you read the chart, it says, therefore, the 7th year of Artaxerxes, according to Jewish reckoning, extended from the fall of 458 BC to the fall of 457 BC. Although the Jews began their civil year calendar in the fall, and the reigns of the kings were counted according to the calendar, the number of months was always in reference to the spring. Thus their civil year began in the 7th month and ended in the 6th month. As an example, notice Artaxerxes' 20th year as recorded in the book of Nehemiah. News of the condition of things in Jerusalem came to Nehemiah in Artaxerxes' 20th year in the month of Chislev or Kislev, which was the 9th month. And that's from Nehemiah chapter 1, verse 1. But later, when Nisan, the first month, came, it was still Artaxerxes' 20th year. I realize this is all very confusing. I've been going over this for several days, and the way these authors write these things, it's tremendously confusing if you're just listening to me read it. Suffice it to say that that Daniel 9:25, the significant point in the decree to rebuild Jerusalem was not when it was signed by Artaxerxes, but rather went into effect after Ezra arrived in Jerusalem. The decree was useless until the Jews were actually made aware of it and could act upon it. Until they and the governors east of the river heard it, the decree had not fully gone forth. Therefore, we begin the prophecy of Daniel 9 in the late summer or early fall of the year 450 BC. So, or 457 BC rather. And so that is the year when the city of Jerusalem began to be rebuilt. And that takes us all the way up until the time of Jesus' death, which would be approximately 33 BC. And then the prophetic time clock stops. And from that point, the times of the Gentiles are ushered in, and that is the time in which we are now living, and that will not end until the tribulation period, which is known as Daniel's 70th week, and that will not begin until sometime in the future. Who knows when that's going to happen? We must first have the rapture of the church must take place, and after that, the tribulation period will be ushered in, and that is when the prophetic clock will resume, and the final 7 years of this 490 years that God has decreed upon Jerusalem will be completed. And so that is what this is speaking of. This is what the book of Daniel is talking about. And I realize there is so much information to cover in terms of the historicity of these things, in terms of the how they reckon years at one time, and then they reckon them differently at other times, or they were reckoned differently by the Jews and then differently by the Gentiles, and it's a real confusing thing to try and understand. So I hope this has helped you some, because these 490 years are, the 483 of them have expired. Okay, they expired with the death of Jesus Christ on the cross, and the times of the Gentiles were ushered in at that point, and we are living in that time right now, and it will continue until the last day of the tribulation period, which will begin sometime in the future. But before that can begin, we must the rapture of the church must take place, and then after that, the tribulation period is ushered in. So, of course, we're waiting for that to happen to complete this 490 years that God decreed upon Jerusalem to make reconciliation for iniquity, to anoint the most holy, and all these other things mentioned here in the book of Daniel. So I hope that's helped you some, and I will be back tomorrow night with another message on the book of Daniel, and in that tomorrow night I'm going to address in detail these dates that I was just discussing with you, because it's very important that we know these things. Remember, there are going to be those who challenge our faith, and if you begin a conversation with someone concerning these things, someone may have questions, or they may have rebuttals to what you're saying, and so it's good to know these things. It's good for you to know these things and commit them to memory, so that if at some point you are challenged, when you might be using the book of Daniel to explain things to people. I know that oftentimes I do that because there's so much prophecy in the book of Daniel, and and of course regarding world history, there's a lot of prophecy that's already been fulfilled, and this is documented, and it validates the Bible. And so I will sometimes, or really oftentimes, go to the book of Daniel and take people through all the different kingdoms that are mentioned in Daniel chapter 2 with Nebuchadnezzar's statue, and then with in chapter 7 with the four beasts. I mean, it's all very interesting, and it's helpful for you to know these things so you can witness to people and and share with them what you know. And I believe the Holy Spirit will anoint these things and open the eyes of people to understand that these things have been documented, and they validate the Bible. People always try to say, well, why should we believe the Bible? Well, these are reasons to believe it in the book of Daniel. And again, I'll be getting to all that in the next couple of days. So once again, I thank you all for tuning in. I have some announcements to make, particularly regarding my website. As it stands right now, the websites are online, but there is a bug in the system of the company through whom I have my websites, and so I cannot access my websites at this time to update them, because it will not, the bug will not allow me access to my sites to do this, and they're working on it. I don't know how long it's going to take, but all these websites are online. Again, Worldwide End Time Radio, WorldwideEndTimeRadio.com, AmericanChristianRadio.org, EndTimeWorldNews.com. All these websites are online. You can access them. There's really not much up on End Time World News, but there is on Worldwide End Time Radio and AmericanChristianRadio.org. You can go there, and there's a lot of material there you can access, and I believe it will be a blessing to you. And I will keep you apprised of what is going on with all this, because it's sort of setting back the things I intended to do in a very short period of time. Now it's going to be delayed for how long? It's already been like 4 days that this has been going on. Okay, I'll get back to you on all that, and once again, I thank you for tuning in, and as always, I leave you with this reminder: keep the faith and defend the truth. Have a good night, everybody.